All right. It's Tuesday at 10. Today we are talking about the doTERRA difference. And I think it is a important conversation, right? Because I was thinking, Dr. Ashley, I would hate for people to be watching these lives that we do and then going and purchasing, frankincense from Amazon or from like seriously Cracker Barrel. I was at Cracker Barrel and they have a display of essential oils.
What?
It's insane. It's insane is what it is. Would you say?
I just said what?
Yeah, I know. It's insane. It's insane. And so we really wanted to have some dialogue to let you guys tell you a little bit about doTERRA and explain the doTERRA difference, explain what makes this company different from its competitors. And there are lots of competitors out there. And so yeah, let's have the conversation. I don't mind, like, I want to start. How about this? Can I start with my recent experience,
Yes,
Doctor?
please.
Okay. Well, like Ashley, we were just talking before this. Like Ashley, I've been with doTERRA for several years, and we do this thing called Diamond Club. And Diamond Club, it's just a way to accelerate your business to get a lot of like really good momentum and get really good business practices. If you qualify for Diamond Club, get in it. It's really good. It starts, I think, in September, and the qualification months are start next month, I think, or this month. I don't know. This isn't a
This
plug
one.
for something like that, right? This isn't a plug for Diamond Club, but do it if you can. Now, when you graduate Diamond Club, say you finish the whole season and you graduate, one of the things that they give you is a free trip it's a free sourcing trip. So you can actually go and see how and where the oils were sourced. And so like Ashley, I'd won several of these over the past. I don't like to use that word won. I earned, right? We earned several of these trips, but I just was able to go in April. It was my first time going to a sourcing trip. And again, this is an opportunity for you to see like actually how the oils are sourced. And I think that every wellness advocate, every person who uses doTERRA essential oils should take advantage of one of these sourcing trips. And I'll show you how you can do that even if you're not in Diamond Club here in a bit. But it was game changing for me to see it. I just felt so like, I don't know, when I think about and talk about essential oils, I feel like very connected with my creator because this is his creation, right? But that experience for me was game changing. So I want to share a little bit about that with you. But I don't know. Also, Ashley, I think maybe just from like a medical perspective, maybe we start. Let me change this up a little bit. Maybe we start with why purity with essential oils matters.
Sure. Can you first, though, say when you're saying sourced, what does that mean?
Okay, so how they actually get the oils, right? So essential oils are oils that come from plants, all different types of plants from all different parts of the plants. And so with a sourcing trip, you can actually go to the place that harvests the plant, whatever that plant may be. And you can see the end-to-end process, how they actually extract the oil from the plant, meet the people that do it, and they give you a lot of context around what that process is like. So that's the sourcing trip. I went to Pennsylvania where birch is sourced, and we got to actually go into the forest where they get the trees. And I like for me that was very meaningful to actually see like, wow, these oils come from earth. I mean, we know that, but to actually see it, I think it's really, really powerful
Yeah, like in real life.
in real life. Yeah, for sure. So
But for
why?
me,
Mhm.
oh, go ahead. I was saying,
Oh,
like what you were saying, you can't safely.
say that one more time.
All
It cut out
all
again.
essential oils are not I can hear it in my headphones too when it's cutting out. So
Yes. All essential oils are not created
those are
equal.
not created equally.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many things using oils.
I'm trying to this, maybe I
I
can,
think I'm gonna try to connect to my hotspot.
hang on, before you do that, let me try something. Bear with us. I'm gonna, because your connection on Instagram is tight. Can you turn your volume on Instagram and maybe we turn it down?
So if I turn it, so I turned it on Instagram and off on Zoom. Does that help?
So can you unmute on Zoom? Wait, can you guys hear people on Zoom? Can you hear us both a little bit? Ashley, can you turn your Zoom unmute on Zoom, but then just turn the volume all the way down?
Mm-hmm. I think that was in the past, it echoes, but it should be okay since the volume's all down.
Can you hear her? Can you guys, you can hear both of us now?
Look
Okay.
how smart you are.
Well, I don't know. There's a whole explosion happening on Instagram. Instagram, let us know. We're gonna keep going, but let us know if you if you have difficulty hearing us. We'll get it right.
Yeah, sorry guys. You know, people talk a lot about using essential oils in the diffuser brand to put in my diffuser. But what you know is that when you smell an oil, you put it on topically, it's in your bloodstream in 30 seconds, less than a minute. So it does matter if you're using an oil that's not pure in your diffuser, because that's still, those toxins and chemicals are different than what we would call like an endocrine disruptor, like what we would use with skincare products, hair products, lotions, those types of things. You're basically diffusing an oil that is going to cause you.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times, even in like massage therapy, I have massage therapists on my team, and they share that all the time. Like massage therapists, a lot of times will skim off the top and get a cheaper oil just to those substances seep into the bloodstream, and it happens very, very quickly. So we want to be mindful, especially when we're talking about using oils for therapeutic purposes, that we're using a pure grade essential oil that has been tested and that you can trust. So, you know, the FDA regulate the essential oil industry, so you can absolutely go to Walmart or Target or Amazon and buy an essential oil that says it's pure on the label, and it's full of synthetics. And so you just have to watch that. I always say that one of the red flags is if the plant from which that oil you consume safely, and the bottle says it's not safe for internal use. That's a red flag.
Dead
Red
giveaway.
flag.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so about, I think the statistics are about 85% of the essential oils that are on the market today are either completely synthetic, like completely made in a lab, because that's a thing, or it's a pure essential oil that has been altered in some way. Some sort of chemical adulterations have been added. That's what's on the market today. So when you hear people have concerns about consuming essential oils and you know, putting it underneath your tongue or whatever you do to ingest the oils, putting it in your water, it's not because of the oil, it's because what they've added to it, right? All the other contaminants that have been added to it. I like to say, like, humans eat plants. We should be eating plants, right? But humans don't eat all plants, right? So there are some plants that we can't eat. And that's why it's important that you look on your bottles. When you get your bottles of oils, if you have a bottle of oil, just flip it over to the side. And if you see that label that says supplement facts, then you know that that essential oil is safe for consumption. And so if you're at Cracker Barrel, real story, and you see a lemon there and it says do not ingest, we eat lemons all the time. We eat the zest of the lemon all the time, which is where the oil comes from. So yeah, it's an unregulated industry, which is why doTERRA really focused on ways to regulate it, right? And so every batch of oil goes through over 50 different internal and external tests to confirm that it is in fact pure and potent, unadulterated, and uncontaminated. And that was one of the things that I got to see. It was so interesting to me. So in Pennsylvania, they have these big, huge barrels, for lack of a better word. What do you call these big, like big, huge domes, right? There's 4 of them. And I believe it holds 1 ton of essential oil, right? So they're huge. 4 of them, 4. And every single day, they run a batch of essential oils. They bring the birch, the wood, and they put it into, they give it like a bath, and then they distill the oil out of it. They give it a steam bath, right? You could just see it. It was just so wild to me. And then they walk you through the process of how it's distilled, and then the oil comes out at the bottom, right? So they have all of these batches of oil. Okay. Now this particular distillery is owned by doTERRA. So this is owned by doTERRA, right? They pay for everything. The oil comes out, and then what they do is for every single batch of oil, so 4 batches every single day, they send a little vial to Utah. They send it to corporate, and corporate runs a bunch of tests on the essential oils. We got to see that in at the founders retreat, right? We got to see how they test all the oils. So they run these series of tests, and if the oil comes back contaminated for whatever reason, they won't use it. They just won't use it.
That's a whole
point right there.
Right.
Because you just said a ton of oil down the drain if it doesn't pass.
That's a lot
of money. And so I think it served, like, we have to call that out, that they would risk and probably have lost thousands and thousands upon thousands.
Right.
To
ensure that purity and that standard is being met with every batch of oil.
And I will confirm the amount. So the barrels are huge. The barrels are huge, but it gives it a bat. Everything happens within those barrels, right? So they get the bark, they put the bark in there, they give it the steam bath, and then it comes out. So how much oil is produced out of each batch? I'm not sure. That's a question we need to confirm. But either way, it's a loss of definitely loss of money, a loss of product, and labor. Like the hours that it takes to get that batch of oil, if it's no good. And, you know, of course, the people that are producing the oil, they're nervous. They're like, what's happening? And they told us one day they did have a batch that was no good. And they said it had iron, or I think it was iron in the oil. And they have no idea how it happened. They have no idea, because they did nothing different. Same soil, same everything. So they had to just run another batch, and that new batch was fine. And they said that just happens sometimes. You know, you never know what can get into the soil when these essential oils are being harvested. And that's the reason why doTERRA does it different. They're checking multiple times. They don't just check the soil. First of all, I don't even believe other essential oil companies care about the soil. Okay.
So that's a whole another video.
Right? doTERRA is checking the soil and doing all these tests before they even harvest the plants, right? And then after that, a series of tests are run, both internal to doTERRA and also external, to make sure that the oils are pure and potent through all phases of the process. Over 50 different tests are run. And the other thing on top of that, not only do they run the tests, guys, they give you the tests. Right? They give you the results of the test. I mean, there's so much transparency here, because just so you know, every essential oil company, although the FDA doesn't regulate what goes in the oils, they do regulate the fact that you have to have what they call a batch report. And that's a report that tells you what are the chemical constituents that are in that batch and what is the percentage of chemicals that are in that batch, right? And so doTERRA gives you that report. So if you're watching and you'd like to go and find that report, just go to source2u.com. Source2u.com. And you, on the bottom of your essential oil, there is a batch number. And all you got to do is just type that batch number in. It has to be a single oil, not a blend of several oils, right? Because each of the singles are the ones that are tested. So you get that oil, the single one, and you put it in the thing. And what will come back to you will be a full report. Okay, it's a little overwhelming, not gonna lie. If you're on Instagram, you follow me, I will post to show you what that looks like. I had a customer that wanted to know, and I was like, well, okay, here we go. But it will give you the breakdown of all of the chemicals in the oil, as well as what percentage of it is in the oil. So you do have to know what chemical constituents make up the essential oil. And there are books, scientific books and stuff like that, that you can look up and see that. But just the transparency, just the full transparent, and this is a third-party company that does it, and it says 0 contaminants, 0 adulteration, right? So every essential oil company has a report like that. They have to. So what I recommend people do is, hey, reach out. Ask for if you think your oil is pure, ask for the batch report and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have to do it, but they don't make it public.
Right. They don't
So
make it
that should be also a red flag there. And I also wanted to call out too, what you just described is that CPTG.
Yes.
The certified pure tested grade. And that's what truly matters and makes me, like, as a mom, just as a human that cares about my own temple, and then as a health provider that recommends these products and essential oils for my patients, like, it makes me feel comfortable knowing that what the bottle actually says is what it actually is.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it matters, right? No, I know it matters because
It definitely does.
We are pouring these oils on our bodies, in our home, and you talked about how quickly it can penetrate the bloodstream. And it can, if you're using a product that's not synthetic, right, that's not real, that is synthetic, it's throwing things off. It's impacting you in ways that you may not even be aware of. And so I just feel like the links that they go to doTERRA to ensure the quality of the oils, like, it just gives me so much trust. The other piece in this, when I went to Pennsylvania, we got a chance to meet these were doTERRA employees, not the ones that you usually see on stage or you see at events. These are the ones that are just focused on sourcing, finding the earth's purest forms of these oils and overseeing this process. And that was actually really, for me, impactful, because these people have, I mean, I have a couple of videos and I'll post them to my stories after today, but they are so passionate. They are so, just like the people in corporate, and us as wellness advocates, like, they are so passionate about what they do. I love it, because imagine just having people there who don't care. Like, yeah, just run. We're gonna run this batch. No, they put their heart and soul in it, and they go through such extent.
They take it serious.
Yeah, they take it so seriously. One of the guys who's like one of the sourcing partners that doTERRA works with, he was very focused. His job is to find the best sourcing options for each essential oil. And so he really was just telling us his story in life and what his background was and his education. And it was all about, like, preserving farmers, which I thought was so interesting, that a person like that landed here in this perfect job. He wants to make a perfect job for him, his background. He wants to make sure that farmers are paid well and equal and fair. And that's how he ended up sourcing for doTERRA, because doTERRA takes care of not just us as wellness advocates or the people in corporate, but the farmers. That's the reason why they have the model, the sourcing model that they have. It's pretty incredible.
That's amazing. And I think too, like, you know, when you're talking about people whose like life's dream it is, like how they find these people, right? And put them in the perfect position. I'm reading, it's totally random, but I'm reading this book called Relational Intelligence by Dr. Darius Daniels. And he talks about relationships and friend, all kinds of relationships in our lives. And it's like sometimes we have people in our lives that are there for a season, and sometimes they're there for a specific reason. But where we often fall short is we have the right person in the wrong space. And I feel like doTERRA has done a really amazing job, especially on sourcing, but even in other parts of corporate, having the right people in the right places so that they can actually flourish and feel like they're in their purpose. And that is really what I was thinking about when you were talking.
Yeah, no, it definitely matters. And it was just a very eye-opening experience. The other thing that I thought was so cool about seeing this experience end to end is so the birch trees in Pennsylvania, there was a guy there that was like, we got all these birch trees. They just they flourish. We're gonna talk about that in a second, about where doTERRA chooses to harvest, right? But they just are everywhere in this little small town in Pennsylvania, Kane, Pennsylvania. It's super cute. And the I don't know what these people are called, but the people who chop the lumberjacks, chop down trees.
That's all I know.
They're like, this birch has to go. Like it's growing profusely, and we don't have a purpose for it. We have a purpose for birch. So they were like, you got to cut them down and turn them into mulch. But it was inhibiting the growth. The birch grows so thoroughly, so rapidly, so well in this little small town. And the lumberjacks, it takes over the forest. And lumberjacks needed another specific type of tree, but the birch was like taking over. So they were like, we got to get rid of this birch. So they're chopping all this birch down, turning it into mulch. And this guy who lives in the area was like, this is a lot of birch. Like, there has to be another purpose. There has to be another use for the birch. So as they're chopping the birch down and turning it into mulch, they're like, what is that smell? Right? And if you go to the forest and you cut birch, the bark of the birch tree, it's so incredibly fragrant. It's shocking how much fragrance comes out of there. So this dude's like, if the bark is this fragrant, what's the essential oil like that comes from it? So he went on this mission. Yeah. He went on this mission calling all of these essential oil companies to see if anybody wanted their birch. Now, here's the thing. Everybody said no. Why? Because birch essential oil chemically mimics in a lot of ways, except for one chemical. It mimics wintergreen essential oil, and it's incredibly easy, simple, and cheap to synthetically produce it. So no other essential oil company in the world has pure birch. So
it's also like a really tedious process, right? Like the birch, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're like, Emily Wright was on the hunt for pure birch, like this business of, manipulating wintergreen. They would just like take wintergreen oil and add in a synthetic chemical to it to turn and call it birch. So she's like, nah, we got to find the real thing. So this guy finally makes his way to doTERRA, and they're like, oh, yeah, we actually been looking for birch. Perfect timing. And that's how it was. They were connected, and they built this distillery down in Kane, Pennsylvania. So what happens is now, here's what they do. They chop the birch that grows plentifully. Is that a word? In Pennsylvania, they chop it all down, and then they grind it it looks like mulch. They get it down to mulch level. They put it in the steam bath, and then they distill the oil out of it. So it's in these big things, and then the oil comes out of the bottom. And now you have your essential oil and your mulch. So what they did was you talk about like recycle and repurpose. The same tree now has multiple different uses instead of just like chopping it, and I don't even know what else they would do with it. They got an extra use out of that essential oil. So all of the oil is pulled out, and then the bark goes, or the mulch goes and is used. And it still smells good, by the way. You can still smell it. So I don't know. It was just like this is like, it just reminds me of like the water cycle. Like there's just nothing, everything has a use and a
Nothing
purpose.
wasted.
Nothing is wasted. I love it so much that they were able to do that. But let's talk a little bit.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
I was gonna say, I remember like when they introduced Birch on the stage, I think it was Emily, like talking about the guy who reached out had found like his great grandfather's like notes that helped them kind of piece the process together of how to do it, because no one really knew what they were doing.
Didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, typically essential oil is, I can't remember, it's heavier than water or vice versa. Water is heavier than essential oil, one or the other for most essential oils, but it's the opposite for birch. It's heavier than water. So when they are distilling it, the essential oil comes out first. Yeah, and then they cut it before the water starts coming out. It's a very you got to see it with your own eyeballs. It's a very interesting process, and they walk you through it step by step. And it is relatively simple when you look, like it's only a few steps, but it's massive amounts of trees that create the birch essential oil. And the thing about it is, that's what makes doTERRA different as well, is the way that is where they choose to harvest their essential oils, right? So this oil just so happens to be harvested here locally. So certainly the cost is going to be a little bit not as expensive as an oil that, you know, in the south of France or in Bulgaria, where, you know, lavender is harvested. Do you want to talk a little bit about why doTERRA chooses to harvest where they harvest?
But I think the simplest way I've heard it put, because you know, like some essential oil companies will like grow their own things, and that's cool, no knock, but that's the reason why yours aren't ours. Like they're not the same. But I always tell people it's likened to like growing oranges, right? You can harvest oranges from Florida that are going to be like the best of the best, right? You can also grow orange trees, I guess, in Kentucky, where I'm from. It'll still be an orange. It's still edible. It'll probably still give you some level of vitamin C, but the essential oil that you extract from a plant that's grown in its optimal climate, where it's able to kind of live its best life and reach its fullest potential from a plant perspective, and then growing the same plant in another climate that's not quite as optimal, like again, you'll get the fruit, but it's not going to give you the same type of natural chemical constituents to give you the therapeutic benefits. So I think it's like you can grow, I could grow lavender in my front yard. It would look beautiful. I could probably use it in some teas and all sorts of things, but I could not use that same lavender to take for seasonal irritants or like whatever, you know, to feel like I'm gonna have that same level of impact. In fact, there's a farm here in Kentucky. It's probably like maybe 30 minutes from where I live, that they all lavender. And my mom's like, we have to go to this place. I'm like, you will love it. You'll love it. And I'm like, probably not gonna love it for a couple reasons, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. And we had lavender like on our charcuterie board. We had lavender lemonade and lavender teas, and it was amazing. Then we went in that gift shop and they started talking about lavender essential oil, and I'm like, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know y'all got this from Outback, and it's probably better than what you could, you know, get on Amazon, but it was grown in a random county in Kentucky. You're not going to get the same benefits. So I think so important that we get those oils where the plants grow best indigenously. So I think when you think about pricing, because I know a lot of people talk about like, well, this is expensive. Well, if you're a frankincense farmer in the Uman region in Africa and you're having to risk your life to get to the side of these cliffs to get frankincense oil from that tree, it's worth every bit of the $80 a bottle you're going to spend in the wholesale, because you ain't gonna. I'm not doing it. I'll pay my $80, but I'm not going to do that. So it's like we have to keep in mind. It's like you do get what you pay for in this business. Like you absolutely do in this industry.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah. I use the example of the pineapple, a pineapple that was harvested in Hawaii versus one that was harvested in my backyard. And in my classes, I always say, like, if I offered you, you have a choice between the two, which would you choose? And one of my classes, one lady was like, I would eat yours. Just it was like, oh, that's
Because
so
I feel bad.
but most people want it when it came from its natural habitat. So I think for me, seeing birch, how it grows in abundance there naturally, it tells you that it has the right atmosphere, the right climate, the right soil. It has everything needed to produce birch the way that it was intended to be produced. So you're going to get all of those natural chemical components that that you might not get otherwise if you were to take that same plant and harvest it someplace else. So yeah, it's still lavender, but it's not going to be the type of lavender that we need when we need it. We want it's soothing to our skin or put someone to sleep, or if we have a skin irritation, or we're looking for a natural antihistamine. Like, it's not going to be the same.
Wow. I'm proud of you. You're killing it.
Quality matters. Quality matters. And I honestly too, I just feel like, someone in the chat is saying one oil distributor tried to tell her that doTERRA's oils were expensive. I honestly feel like doTERRA's oils could be more expensive because of the tedious nature. It's a very extensive and expensive process. And they really, really, really try hard to keep these essential oils in budget. And they give us things like frankincense touch and rose touch if we can't afford to get, because rose essential oil is like $435.
I don't know, because I've never bought it with real money. I've only ever used points for that.
Exactly. So I don't know. I feel like it could be more expensive. They do a really good job at trying to keep it cost effective. There was a point that I was going to make that I have since lost. It's gone. It's gone.
It may come back.
It may come back. It may come back. But I just appreciate the links that they go through to really delineate doTERRA in the market here. It's back. It's back. So I just feel like when you go to Amazon, when you go to Target, when you go to, the dollar store to get essential oils, they are not even trying to convince you with a lot of effort that it's pure and unadulterated. They're targeting a person who doesn't care. They're targeting a person
who doesn't know any better.
Who for them quality doesn't matter. Like, who cares? But doTERRA is not. doTERRA is targeting the savvy person who is concerned about their health and wellness, who wants pure products that are uncontaminated in their household. That's who they target. And, we rise up. And let me just tell you a little trick. If you feel like these doTERRA essential oils are too expensive, then you should consider the business side of doTERRA, because then it'll help offset the cost of your oils, which is what we do. My essential oils are free. Right?
But I'm like, your oils and like half of your products for your home. I think about like toothpaste, laundry pods, dishwashing liquid, everything.
Concentrate, all the things.
All of it.
All my like perfumes
$3.99
are essential oils that I just have turned into perfumes. There's a lot of cost savings from that. And at the end of the day, we talk about this a lot too here. At the end of the day, you're gonna spend the money. You're either going to invest in your wellness or you're going to pay for your illness. You pick.
You're going to spend it either way.
Yeah, it's inevitable. And so I see this as an investment in my health and wellness. And I'm so grateful that doTERRA goes through the extent that they go through to make sure that the oils are pure and potent so that we can use them as therapeutically in our household.
All the ways. And I think too, like you really hit a point there too when you were talking about how you can use this one bottle of oil for so many different purposes. Because sometimes people hear like, oh, I'm going to spend, how much is lavender now? Like 20, 28 bucks, 26 bucks? I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spend that on a bottle of lavender. But like, how amazing is it for you to have one tool that you can put on cut or scrape your kids or you cut or scrape yourself to naturally disinfect and calm the inflammation in your skin so it can heal. But you can use that same oil on your pillow or in a diffuser at night to help you sleep, or rub it on like perfume to help you with feelings of anxiousness or when you feel kind of stressed out. But it's like there's so many different things that you can do. And even I use lavender as the fragrant on the wool dryer balls to make my clothes smell like something when they come out of the laundry. So it's like I have this one bottle. Granted, I have the same bottle in multiple places in my house because we use it for so many things. But it's like you have this one oil that you can use for so many purposes. So when you talk about cost savings, in addition to the preventative health and wellness side of things, you have the fact that you don't have to buy a product for every single part of your home. You can get one product and use it everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Lavender tea helps with sleep. It's just it's like the Swiss Army knife of essential oils. It does so many things. And it's not just lavender. There's so many oils that are similar. And I agree. Yeah. The one thing I was going to tell you guys about birch, because someone put in the comments here, Dee says that birch and wintergreen have the same aroma. They do. It's a very, very, very similar. It's almost identical chemical constituent, except for one thing. One chemical makes it different. But birch they say that it has the same chemical constituents as aspirin. So it's when you're looking for a natural way to relieve pain, this is why we reach for these essential oils. Now, you would not ingest birch. Neither do you want to ingest wintergreen. But using those oils topically are going to be great. Or you can go into the forest if anyone wants to do this and cut birch off the tree. You can ingest that version of it. If you want it for your teeth. It's really good for your teeth.
Who knew?
Amazing to me. And did you see? I can't remember. We were talking about it on this trip, and I can't remember exactly this full story. But there's a story that was on social media, on the news a couple months ago. And it was like a gorilla or a monkey or something in the forest. And they had documented him pulling a specific plant off the tree or bark or something off the tree and using it medicinally. And he knew what to do, like a cut. And he knew exactly what to do with it. And the scientists that were observing him, they knew that this plant could be used in this way. And the gorilla was like, I know what to do with this. I love all the natural resources, all the things that we have. If you believe in a creator, like I just believe that he put us here on this earth to live here on this earth. And here on this earth are all of the things that we need to keep us healthy and happy. We just have to be tuned into it,
Yeah, so true. It's got to be open.
Yes. I love it so much. And that, my friends, is the doTERRA different. Our oils are harvested. The plants that make the oils are harvested in their natural habitat. And they go through countless tests to ensure that the oils are pure and potent, unadulterated, uncontaminated. And unlike any other company, you can actually go see it. Costco ain't letting you go to their factory to see how they produce their stuff, right? No. doTERRA is the only company that will allow you to go and actually see how the process works end to end. That, my friends, is the doTERRA difference.
That was a perfect ending. I don't even want to say anything else.
That's the ending. Well, guys, thank you so much, Instagram, for coming to be with us today. And we had some technical difficulties, so thank you for riding with us, and thank you for our people
Yeah, guys, sorry
that are
about
here. We'll figure it out, y'all. So it's live. It's the real and the raw. But thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, and I think we're talking about natural allergy hacks. Speaking of lavender.
that.
We'll see you back here, same time, same place, next week. Ciao. Bye.
Yeah.
All righty. I think we are good to go. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for being patient with us this morning. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can even hear me. Yeah, you can. Okay. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.